Greetings and welcome to Star Trek Discovery Pod, a sometimes funny, trying to be smart podcast covering all things new and classic Trek. Let's fly. I'm your captain, Myrriah Gossett. With me on the view screen, we have
Clyde Haynes. I promise you, I was thinking about naming my son Leto. Just a thought. Not really, but it's a great name.
It's a good name.
And I'm your completely unsolicited Star Trek Enterprise TV show person, Paul.
Timey-wimey, we're going to talk about it tonight. We are discussing the series finale of Star Trek Discovery coming to an end. It has technically been on for more days than TNG. Thought that was a fun fact. But it only produced, it's like...
You mean in terms of years spanned?
Year span, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Length of time on length of time it was out in the world. We are talking about Life Itself, directed by Olatunde Onsunsame, written by Carl Jarrow and Michelle Paradise. And guys, I feel like you know the drill. We're at the finale, but I'll let the reminders come on in. Paul, how can people share, support the show? We got to come up with some stuff to do. I don't know what new Trek is coming. We're going to come up with some things.
It's going to be so amazing, everyone. It's going to be so, oh my God, we got so many ideas. It's going to be so amazing. Stay tuned. And if you want to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. All links are at StarTrekPod.co. And if you love our content, and I know you do, join us on Patreon.
What is this energy, Paul?
For $2.
Decaf, bro. Decaf.
Patreon.com/StarTrekPod. I'd mix it up. Mix it up.
You're really mixing it up. All right. Clyde, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of emotions, a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings to express. How should people let us know if they would like us to pay attention to them in the chat this evening, if they're joining us during the live stream?
Time capsule. Just take all of that emotion, write it down, stick it in a time capsule, bury it, and then sometime in the future, we will come dig up your thoughts and then read them on a future podcast.
But they should also create a sleuth kind of treasure map that we have to do various tests to figure out where they keep their clue.
We need a scavenger hunt.
That would be great. No, seriously, if you are watching us live on YouTube and you want to participate in the show, type capital P, capital O, capital pod in your chat, and we will take a look at your thought, your musing, your comment, your question. If you just want, like Nicole in the chat, and you just want to give us a crying emoji, do that, and we will take a look at that. Now, in a moment, when we ask you about your overall thoughts of this last final episode, give us your HFs. Just type capital H and capital F, capital HF in the chat, and we'll take a look at your heartfelt musings of this episode.
Indeed. Just to set the table a little bit, I think I want to talk about, we'll dig into the episode as a whole. We'll probably talk a little bit about what does this feel like in the spans as far as how it feels as an ending to the whole series. But I have a feeling we'll probably schedule an additional podcast to talk about the entirety that was Star Trek Discovery. But yes, I think it is time for one last ride. It's time for a hot freak on the Disco series finale. Clyde, what did you think?
Well, I'm a little upset because I'm like, Grey's Anatomy can get 30 seasons. Doctor Who gets 115 seasons. Why can't I have a show that I love just go on forever? So ultimately, I thought it was a great show. I thought it was a great episode for what it was. I didn't want it to end. I still feel like there's a lot of unanswered things. I thought they gave us a flash forward well enough not to screw up the timeline. So kudos to doing that. That was a balancing act. But I enjoyed it. It did not feel like 90 minutes. I was kind of annoyed when it ended and was like, hey, give me more. So all in all, it was I enjoyed this episode.
Paul?
it looked expensive.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it did. You're not wrong.
Yeah, it did.
I was like,
That was a lot of money.
Yeah, I was going,
I
"Holy
said that's where all the budget went.
I like, like
See-
just they
See,
open it with,
I'm watching it from the sense of like the fan, the sci-fi enthusiast, and I'm on a podcast with producers that their first thought is, "Whoo, that was a lot of money in the budget."
Yeah.
oh, it was like,
Oh, look at all that flames. Like,
right, like it was nonstop, like, and then where I'm going, oh my god, like, this is a lot of stuff happening, like, there was nothing that wasn't touched by VFX. It was a lot. I thought it was a great ride, for the season ender. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good season ender, uh for a series ender. I thought it was affecting. I'm not a big fan of you know the Harry Potter flash forward, because, like, I don't want to see the people I love old.
what?
That's me. Like when
Interesting.
when you see Harry Potter, you go like, oh, and here they are, like, he's he's gonna die soon.
I mean, they're not that old.
No, they're old. They're old. And it's okay. But, like, I'm like, oh, there's their kid, and that's nice. And then I go like, oh, you just, like, left Zora by herself in, like a room somewhere. That kind of sucks too. Like, too many. It could have just ended at, like, the wedding, and now I would have been like, at Discovery.
Yeah.
I mean, Sonequa Martin Green looked good old, so
Yeah.
just saying.
I agree. I thought it was a very obvious that this was a series that they did not know when they wrote the series it was going to be the last series.
Facts.
I thought it was a fantastic season finale, and I thought they did their best with the tack on to try to give us any kind of closure for a series finale.
Sure.
And we'll dig into the endings here in a little bit. Some messages from the menagerie. If you join us over on Patreon, you can tell us your hot freak early. Get it on in. From Kieran, we have, I'm glad the finale gave Michael the happy ending she deserved, but the time jump is also a bitter reminder of all we're going to lose from the series being canceled way too soon. I didn't anticipate the Kovich reveal, especially considering how Daniels was nowhere near as cool in Enterprise. The wedding was too short, and we got way too little of Owo and Detmer. Takako says, I can't believe it's all done. I'm glad they left the Pretender's tech mystery unsolved and that Burnham chucked it like Harry Potter tossed the Elder Wand. Another Harry Potter references everywhere. I cried when Culber volunteered. The key line for me was the Pretender saying, every sentient being, myself included, has all of those feelings. Imperfect, afraid, lost. Yet some strive to be the best of themselves, and I see that in you. The Kovich reveal was a fun surprise, and of course loved the Saru Tarina wedding reception. I can say more. Culber, Stamets, Calypso, and the future of Bream, etc. But overall, I enjoyed the finale. Yeah.
Let me say this.
Yes.
What was interesting for our community is that, I guess at this point, a few years ago, on this pod, I discussed that Enterprise was my least favorite, like, Star Trek series. And our crew, our patrons, challenged me to watch a watch along with them. And I did for quite a while. And the payoff, like, I could hear them laughing and rejoicing as I started to realize who Kovich was. Because if it not had been for them, this is a reference that would have made no sense to me, right? The Agent Daniels reference, and so I was like, wow, this is kind of neat, because not only is it a great reference kind of in Star Trek, but the fact that they wove Enterprise into the finale was like, for all of those fans who love Enterprise, it was kind of a nice little, like, moment. So I thought it was a nice touch. I kind of felt something about that.
Yeah, I saw some of the writers chatting today. Say they're so funny and sneaky. They're like, without saying any spoilers, they're like, the big reveal was something that they apparently had been talking about since they introduced the character of Kovich, and they had been deciding if they were going to reveal that in either season 4 or season 5, and so they saved it for this one. I do want to start at the tippy top because this is an action-packed, wild adventure of an episode that had so much going on, but I thought it culminated in a really lovely and fun way that made me mad we don't get another season. So
Yes,
I wanted to start with the Michael and Maul fight sequences through multiple worlds, through multiple dimensions, multiple gravities. That was such an impressive feat of like filmmaking, stunt work, VFX, props. Like it was just like, it's one of those moments when I'm watching that sequence, it's a time that I remember how much of filmmaking is such a team sport, because in order to accomplish everything that happened there, like so much has to, so many hands have to touch all of that. And I just thought it was so impressive. The hurricane wind scene when she has to jump back through the top, and like it was really fun. It was really fun to watch. What did y'all think of that fight sequence?
so I will say that Paul has been very adamant that he does not like Maul and Locke from day one, and I have been trying to give them a chance the entire time. Somewhere through the fight scene, maybe it was the second one, I got to a point where I thought, and I may have said this out loud, die already, Maul. Just die.
Paul got you.
You got me. And it was just like, she keeps trying to be nice to you, and you keep punching her.
Yeah, no,
I'm over it. And so, great fight scene, but I wanted her to die. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I had enough. I had enough.
Yeah, no, she I thought the fight was very like, you could tell someone had fun.
Mhm.
Like putting it all together, whether it be the editor and but it was a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think you could see the love in that. I was it so much. Yes, it was so much.
It was so
Well,
much, but it was so fun.
but it warrants it for the finale, right? You get, but there's a part where you go like, Burnham's gonna win because Maul sucks. And so like there's a point where I'm waiting for that to happen.
Yeah. I
But
I did like that we got the bit of the fake out with the sucker punch to the back of the head, and you get Maul sort of trying to put the puzzle together the way that she thought the puzzle was supposed to be put together, and then she gets like Super Saiyan locked into the puzzle box.
yeah, my favorite part, if you just watch it over again, watch how like Burnham falls after like you know like Maul hits her in the back. It's hilarious.
It's a
Like,
very that like
yeah, that's right. It's like it's very comedic. At least for me, like it's.
Mhm.
I don't know if people. I don't hit people in the back of the head like that, so I don't know if that's how they fall. But like if they do, it's ridiculous. Yeah, would not everything just be better if Maul weren't there?
I think, but it's like how boring would it have just been if she just had to walk through all that and get to the end. I
Oh, versus,
appreciated we had a struggle.
or she could have just been up against the Breen. Don't misunderstand me. But
Yeah.
like there's a point where here's what I wish happened. Somewhere along the show, Maul being right, but Maul is always wrong.
You're right. Like up until the very end, it comes down and she's fully and completely wrong the entire time.
She's always wrong. If she was right and there was something where I go like, oh, Burnham and her can come together and solve this greater puzzle, that'd be worth something. But like Maul just is a little brat,
To your point, Paul, can you name one redeeming moment that she's had?
I mean, she killed the Breen Praetor, or what was it? Not what's his name? Well, it's not
Yeah.
Praetor. It's what's the Breen word?
Primarch.
Primarch. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of that Primarch either.
No.
But she did. Yeah. Oh, yeah, she did. I was like, or did the other guy? No, she did
No,
kill a
she
Primarch. Yeah.
killed her.
So like I'm pretty pro Breen.
I'm not going that far, man. I'm not going pro Breen, but
Yeah.
it was tough. I think I think there was something interesting in fact that like with all of that effort and all of that zeal and that fervor, at the end of the day, the technology wasn't going to do what she wanted it to do.
Yeah.
That was an interesting, like from a story standpoint. I thought that was interesting because there was a time that I really thought that he was going to come back.
Yeah.
And he
I'm
didn't.
sure it was on the board as a possibility. Like, I
Mhm.
like it's one of those things where we've seen people come back from the dead. Like
It happens all the time.
Spock. So
Mhm.
and that was 800 years ago. That was 900 years ago.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
it could work out.
I agree. I appreciated the adversarial nature of Maul, but I do think I would have loved an additional like motivator or cleverness or like something in like she figured out how to navigate the tunnel and was like
Yep.
taking
Sure.
Burnham
Yeah.
through, like one of those things to kind of help with the puzzle. I did think it was I liked to me there was a lot of visual references I thought to the Wizard of Oz throughout this
Yeah.
episode.
I can see it. I can see it.
There
With
was a
like
bit of a yellow brick road that she followed.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I like that. Yeah. I think it felt very iconic and new at the same time.
Yeah. I enjoyed like the reimagining of the poppy fields, like the essentially the meeting of the wizard, and this time it was kind of the same thing. The wizard
Are
was
you
not the wizard.
calling a Breen a munchkin? Is that what you're doing? Are you calling the Breen a munchkin?
No, she's calling him a flying monkey because of the
Yeah, they're
hurricane.
more
There you
flying.
go.
Yeah,
More
they're
flying
green.
monkey.
They're
Brilliant.
like they belong to Elphaba.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and then there was some other like little hints and nods I thought to the Wizard of Oz, which I think is like a bit. I found thematically interesting the idea of coming home and like ending. Anyway, I thought it was like a fun to me reference to bring in at the end, since we had Alice in Wonderland at the beginning of the show
Okay.
and falling through the looking glass, and now we're meeting the wizard, and the wizard was you all along, Burnham. So I thought that was a nice bow there. I was impressed with and appreciated that they essentially still left it a giant question mark as far as the progenitors, and saying like this technology has been around prior to us. So yes, we are not the ultimate like designers of everything, but we did use this to create the idea of the potential for infinite diversity and infinite combinations.
To me, go ahead, Paul.
I was going like, why couldn't they just invented it? Like it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. But like, I don't know if it bought something that I'm missing. Can you clarify?
I think for me, I thought this is in true Star Trek fashion. You expand the world.
Yeah.
Right. And so by it not like the progenitors having it be their technology, you're like, great, we've got the progenitors. But what they said is, hey, guess what? There's somebody else you don't even know about. And that just makes the world, the universe, that world building even larger and ask a question. But it's also, for me, another moment where you go, yeah, they didn't know that this was going to be the final season, because that's something that you do when you're saying, hey, we're setting it up if we need to pull on that thread later for a story.
Yeah, I think to me, it's like I have a hard time when sci-fi, and even with like the original like concept of the progenitors, it's like I find science to be so miraculous and fascinating as it is. Like on a personal level, I don't need it to be some omnipotent being has decided people should exist, right? Like I personally am into like believing the laws of nature are what are so magical about the universe that we live in. And in sci-fi, I thought they did a really great job of walking the line of people having the ability to use faith to answer unanswerable questions, but not giving us an actual answer to those questions so that everyone can actually have the answer for themselves, which I think to me is more interesting than having to spell it out for us, like to me it made it I appreciate when they don't over explain things to the audience. Like I prefer to leave some to the imagination, because everyone else is going to come up with something way more interesting than even a singular writer's room can come up with when it comes to things of that fantastical of nature and that grand of scale.
Sure.
As far as like creation of the universe.
Like it reminded me of Contact, the movie Contact.
Mhm.
It's the same kind of like conceit, which is it's great. I have nothing for or against it. It was just
Mhm.
well, it comes down to the pretenders in the Star Trek episode.
Yeah.
We're kind of like we were the first, and so we kind of left our mark across the universe. And I go like, well, you obviously weren't the first if like you came across this.
Yeah.
So that's the only inconsistency that I don't even really care about. It's a non-issue. But but let's talk about throwing like a portal into a black hole.
I mean, also really cool and interesting. What's going to happen to that black hole? I don't know, but we don't know what happens when you get sucked into a black hole. I'm sure math has figured out potentially what could happen, but we don't know.
Yeah.
Karing says in the chat, he was talking to Nicole. He says, I'm also skeptical how it seems so easy that Vance and Raleigh agreed to destroy the tech. I have to agree with that. Like, we talk about throwing this portal in the black hole. I thought there's going to be more of a fight, but I'm guessing they were running out of time to tell the story. But I was like, oh, there's not. That seems like something that Vance would be like, whoa, wait, we need this.
I mean, but do they need it? I think it's like, I feel like it to me, it seems like the ownership of that causes more political problems than resolves any of them, unless you are truly only about time, like only about manpower and fighting.
Oh, I don't know. Like you could bring back a whole bunch of Quajon.
But that's the thing. It doesn't bring back.
It doesn't bring back. Yeah,
I understand, but there's a whole like genetic line that is now cut. Like you could just bring back a bunch of people who are genetically.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And you got the world root. I'm not saying that you should.
You bring back. It's not booked people, but you bring back people from Quajon. I mean, but how would you do that? Would you just bring back a bunch of books?
It's literally like like you figure it out. Like if you could build an army instantly, like you could build like a society instantly too.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I don't know.
Like I'm not saying one should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did want to talk about some of the other kind of B and C plot happening in the first half of this episode, where we have our bridge crew attempting to fight off the Breen from getting access to the portal, and we get ultimately like, I love that we got to split the ship. I don't know why it was like, we're going into.
I think. Listen, now you were talking about something that is probably one of the most divisive moments.
I know, and I love that they did it.
You are in a camp of like, do you separate the saucer section or do you don't? I am pro separating the saucer section. My only issue is always be, if you could do it, why are you just now doing it? I be doing that thing all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's something that happened with this new upgrade, because most of the ship is like not fully connected anymore as it is.
Programmable matter, blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I thought it was a really incredible visual to see them jump that Breen ship to the edge of the galaxy.
Lovely.
No, I when I saw that, I go like, oh, Clyde's dead. He's dead.
That was some good space
I
fighting.
I was sitting down when it started, and I was on my feet when it ended. I was like, "Whoa, let me! I gotta get up on the TV and look real close because I gotta see
Mhm.
this." That was great.
And then we also have Action Saru, aka Ambassador Saru, using the ambassador action skills in combo to get this other Primarch to hold her horses, which I thought was like a very fun. We kind of had all the space battle pew pew pews, but I appreciate that we got the other side of Trek, which is the mental battles, the mental pew pew pews, if you will.
He said, "Look at my face. Do I look like I'm playing with you? Like, look at my eyes. Am I
You don't want to play
flinching?"
poker. You don't want to play poker with that man.
No, Ferengi Rummy, which is a thing apparently. I don't know.
I mean, that's pretty impressive for Action Saru. He looked a brain in the face and made them blink first. That's baller. Like that's something else.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I'm glad we got a little non-action. Obviously, the extra Breen that I kept thinking was not non. But I'm glad she was around for the finale. It was nice to see her there. I want to talk about, I mean, we sort of touched on it, but Burnham's choice to destroy the technology. And I think the only real pushback voice we have in that moment is Stamets, who, they acknowledge in that way of like, it's not about your legacy. We know you want to study this, but this isn't about legacy anymore. And to y'all's point, I thought it was surprising that there wasn't a little bit more pushback, but I also appreciated that they all sort of just took their captain's word for their captain's word,
Mm.
I gotta be honest, it felt like it felt rushed. Like that was the moment where I was like, oh, somebody's looking at the clock. And I wonder if there's a scene that has been left out. Like that was edited out because they're like, yo,
I would have liked to have seen a longer Stamets Burnham conversation, because to me,
maybe.
like we've talked about all season, it's felt very light on Stamets for me.
There's a lot that they're trying to get in because it felt like they knew they had to add 30 minutes to it. And so if you were expecting it to be like
even
an hour 10,
yeah,
you had to cut some stuff.
Well, to me, even if this was like a regular season finale, typically those season finales are only in that 50 to 55-minute mark. And so even when you tack on our extra scenes at the end, which were the things filmed after they found out they were canceled, it's still a pretty packed episode. So I think you might be right, Clyde. There might have been some extra things in the script that maybe got put on the cutting room floor to fit that time frame, but I don't know.
I'm just telling you, that thing could have been another half an hour and I would have been okay with it. I'm just saying, like, I would have been good.
So here's the thing. Like when I see this happen in Star Trek or any sci-fi show, I think of the phasing cloak, which is in a TNG technology where the Federation like snuck around and made a cloaking device, but not only a cloaking device, but it's also a phasing device. So you can go and phase into like
an asteroid. It's a great way to end up into a middle of an asteroid. Yes.
Yeah. And so, but you'd be invisible, so you could hide in a planet kind of thing. It pretty cool. And then like, they get it, and then all of a sudden, poof, it's gone. Like, it never appears again. Like, it's game-changing technology, and something happens. It's like the Klingons when they invented, like, where you can fire and cloak in Star Trek 6. And then poof, there you are. Like, here is world-changing technology. Like, I'm a person who go like, oh, I have world-changing technology. Maybe I'm like the United States and Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm going to keep the Ark. I'm not going to blow up the Ark. I might not use it, but like, I'm going to keep it. And so,
but isn't it more dangerous to keep it because it could inevitably fall into the wrong hands?
But so can photon torpedoes. Like, it's like, I don't know if it's such a game changer. And I'm sure it could be like, but anything can be a game changer in that way. like the pathway drive is that, if like the spore drive, like that, if you outfitted every ship with a spore drive, you could easily just like kill all the Breen. Boom.
Well,
But but I mean,
the progenitor said exactly that. Like a brick, you can use a brick to build a house, or you could use a brick to destroy something. Like it's kind of what it is.
I mean, like we deal in Star Trek, we deal with power all the time.
Mhm.
So there's that
But
said, I didn't get to talk to the progenitor, and she didn't like mind brain me, so I don't know exactly what Burnham saw. I just saw flashes of it, so
yeah.
I have to trust that she knows better. But like, why would Vance or like Rillick go like? So anyway,
Yeah. I was going to bring up, Kuhn brings up as well, is like how much the Genesis machine freaked out the Klingons. The progenitor tech would be one heck of an advantage to the Federation.
Mhm.
And to me, the Genesis is probably the equivalent we have as far as comparison goes. And even that ends up, with the agreement of like, it needs to be destroyed because it's something that is
what do you
too
mean? Section
powerful.
31 had it.
It's not, it's locked up.
We do it all the time, right? We go like, no, we're gonna destroy this thing. Psych. It's okay. It's okay. And I definitely lean more Section 31 than the two of you.
Yes.
But
I'll be interested to see how everything with the Breen shakes out in the Academy series, because to me that's been the obvious setup, is that will continue to be something in the atmosphere, if you will, post all of this. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. I did really love the line of Burnham when she says, we already have infinite diversity and infinite combinations, so we don't need this machine. I thought that was just like, it was just like really nice to hear that in a show. I don't know. It was like one of those like, oh, it was an oh.
but literally, the season before, there was this thing that could have wiped out so much life. Like you might need, there might be an event that you need to, hit redo on a galactic scale. I'm just saying, like, it just seems a little short-sighted. But Brett and I have not always seen eye to eye,
Yeah. I did really like the Stamets and Adira moment. I thought Adira had a really lovely character arc this season. I thought they really did a good job of
I
bringing
agree.
them in a way that felt organic, and you really saw that growth. Similarly to Culber, I really enjoyed seeing Culber's sort of trajectory throughout the season, and getting more away missions with Cole. I mean, any excuse to see Wilson Cruz on my screen more often, I'm going to take. It's not a struggle to watch that man act. So I enjoyed that, but I thought it was essentially we got like action Culber. I liked seeing action Culber.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think it was great.
And I'm hopeful because of Chippy brought it up somewhere in the chat, but that Tilly wants to start the mentorship program at the Academy, which to me just opens the door to this whole cast is going to come and guest spot, right? Like, I mean, it's classic Star Trek. We never not see these. It's like we're going to see these characters again in some way.
Yeah, like we're going to see like the new Helms Asha, and like all the new people.
Oh yeah.
And that's it. Like Detmer and Owo, no, we won't see them. Burnham, no, just only the new people, only Clyde's favorites.
I want to talk some more about the Daniel reveal, and to me, like that whole end scene, and like, oh, you keep the little weird Derek style, the good place room that we meet in portal device.
Sure.
I was so mad we didn't get another season, because the idea that it's now Discovery Red Directive next, like it's just like constantly these really wild, fun missions like that with that sort of like trajectory would have been really cool. And I'm really sad we don't get to see more of it. And I liked I think y'all have mentioned it. Clyde will be right back. I'm where was I going? Y'all mentioned it about something with Daniels and Enterprise, and the things on the behind
The wall.
Daniels with the baseball and
Chateau de
LaForge.
Picard.
Chateau de Picard. We got LaForge's visor. I thought it was just a nice nod to be like, yeah, like we're all still in this same wild and crazy universe of Star Trek.
Like why do you have like Jodie's glasses?
That is an
Like,
interesting choice.
I mean, I'm going like he stopped wearing them.
Mhm.
so what are you doing? Like I can see how you can purchase some wine or like or like the baseball could even be a memorabilia simply
Mhm.
because like Cisco is out there and like but
Yeah.
like but it
But I
seems
mean,
it's like someone's toothbrush. I feel like it's more like glasses, but like anyway, I thought that was a very interesting choice.
I mean, I think, there's museums that have like famous people's like glasses and hats and notebooks and
Yeah, I suppose no, it was just one of those things where I go like, hmm, interesting. Like if you had one of his cybernetic eyeballs, would that be weird?
yeah.
Yeah,
a little
right?
bit. Yeah. Mike asked a good question. So, as a Daniel, he would then know Discovery would show up in the future. I mean, potentially, he seems to still be in the timey-wimeys, but maybe there's things that he's not aware of. But he didn't seem that shocked by everything that was going on when Discovery jumped into the future.
Yeah, like I would really like to see a 2029 like a 29th century temporal wars kind of thing. Like what
Yeah.
I think because I think there's a lot of things that would be really like some interesting concepts like because you don't have to always go back to the past, you could go to the
Mhm.
future, and then so in that case you would know that in this future like time travel was not allowed, and at which point blah blah
Mhm.
blah blah blah, and how are the temporal cords enforced nowadays, like if I were to come up with time travel, like how would you stop me, like what would you do? Like it's not like time travel is like it's time travel is literally 900-year-old technology.
Yeah.
So
So, you know what here's what sounds interesting of what you're saying. So I'm listening to what you guys have been saying. What you're pitching is a whole new Star Trek series
uh-huh.
called Star Trek: The Temporal Wars, which is basically like Star Trek Game of Thrones.
I would watch that. I'd watch if you run parallel to like the House of Korth, Blood and Honor that Myrriah and I are writing.
It would be a very different kind of tone for Star
Oh yeah,
Trek,
yeah,
right?
no, it'd be a gritty Star Trek with like
Mhm.
I think it'd be
It's a lot
great.
of battles. It's basically a World War II movie.
Maybe.
I mean, but I was like,
was
I
thinking,
like those submarine like episodes, those ones where you're like, playing a lot of tete-a-tete with your strategies.
Mhm.
I love a good the hunt for the Red Enterprise, if you will.
yeah, one ping
I'm
only.
with you. I mean, because we had one, right? I cannot remember what it's called at the moment. There's Star Trek: The Original Series had one of the most famous kind of,
Yeah, like it's the Face of Terror, or
yes, the Face of Terror. Yep.
Mhm.
like yeah, like it's where you meet the Romulans for the first time. They
Yeah.
look like Vulcans.
You'd have more things like that. Only it'd be a lot of timey-wimey episodes.
I think it would be like an espionage episode. I think it'd be,
Mhm.
you know what it'd be like? It'd be like that episode of like Strange New Worlds, where like what's her name goes back and meets like Kirk, like falls in
Yeah.
love, like it'd be kind of an espionage. Oh, here's Khan. Am I going to kill Khan? I don't know.
Am I
don't think
going to
so.
eat a hot dog with no toppings on
Thank
it?
you. Welcome back to Hot Dog Talk with
Sorry,
Myrriah,
you guys
Clyde,
are talking, and
Paul.
I was just thinking about lawns. So I didn't hear anything you said. I was just like, oh yeah, yeah.
It might be time for her to change her paradigm. That's all I know. Like
I wanted to talk about Saru and Tarina's wedding, which I thought was very cute, but I'm obsessed with the costumes.
Oh my God, they like so much money.
so much money. It was so beautiful. They looked incredible.
Yeah, and the reason why I say so much money all the time, because like these are one shots. They're not going to be used
Yeah.
again. It's like,
Yeah,
like
well, that's why everyone else is in dress reds. I was like, they put all of the time and attention on the hero costumes, and then
yeah.
that
So
is
I'm
it.
like, yeah, no, yeah, no. No, I thought it was very beautiful. I thought it was shot very well.
Yeah.
I was also very happy for Burnham and Book.
Yeah.
Although they're not my favorite couple, but it's okay that like oh
Wait. You just dropped a huge bomb, I
they're
feel.
not my favorite couple.
I
Like
thought
Who's your
they were
favorite
great.
couple?
I mean like Stannis and Colbert I like more.
Yeah, it's probably a more
No.
stable couple, but
No.
the chemistry is so undeniable with Book and Burnham.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And I think we struggle a little bit sometimes with the chemistry between Stamets and Colbert.
Nicole is
I
very
think we
upset with
like
me.
them individually very much. What?
Nicole is very upset with me.
Nicole said, Paul, I will fight you for our listeners on the
fight you.
pod. Yes.
Love it.
No, I listen, first of all, I think we have to acknowledge
I
that.
was like, I just saw us lose a viewer. Did you anchor Nicole so much she left?
I think we have to acknowledge the fact that there's not a lot of couples on kind of Discovery, right? You get bits and pieces.
Sure.
I'd have to go. If you're asking me my favorite couple, I'm gonna go with Book and Burnham, but with a close second, and I am so surprised I'm saying this, Saru and Tarina.
I like Saru and Tarina more too.
I'm not saying more. I'm saying I like them
it.
more than I thought I was gonna like them.
Like here's the thing with Burnham and Book for me. I feel like they are they're I will not fight the chemistry. They're smolderers.
They got good smoldy face.
And I'm not gonna fight you. You're absolutely right. But like if you had to bet before we flash forward, if you had to bet who's gonna make it, Saru and Tarina or Book and Burnham. Like Burnham comes with a lot of baggage. Book comes with a lot of baggage. It's not clear that they're going to make it. But like as a couple, I would hang out with with Saru and Tarina. Like, but I've been married for 20 years.
Me, yeah, I was like, but the other thing, Paul, is I would see you hanging out with Saru and Tarina. I don't think you would hang out with Burnham and Book.
I know.
I would. We play spades, some dominoes. It'd be a lot of fun.
Like I think the division here, it's exactly this, Clyde. So you said spades and dominoes. Those are one specific types of games. Paul plays hours-long strategy games and board games. And to me, that screams Saru and Tarina.
So and I think you're onto something, because here's the way I look at it, right? So when I think of Saru and Tarina, that is a mature relationship where when you think about them going in, Tarina wasn't like, you can't go, like I need to keep you here. It's very pragmatic, right? Like it's what you would expect out of kind of a military like union, right? Like, look, I gotta go. Book and Burnham is a rom-com, right? Book is there on a ship. He's holding on. He's like, I'm not leaving. I'm not going to leave you no matter what. This black hole could tear my ship apart. Cobra could die. It doesn't matter. I'm not leaving you. It's a rom-com. So I think you're looking at two very different relationships. And if you're asking me personally, I like rom-com, so I am.
Well, like if I'm going to a barbecue or just even any restaurant, I'm going with Book and Michael. They look like they have a lot of fun.
Oh, it's gonna be a ton of fun. Yeah.
But here's more insight into my life. I apologize. It will be relevant to Star Trek. So one thing that happens in Star Trek all the time is like, oh, would you sacrifice the one you love for the greater good? That happens all the time, right? Like Kirk did it with like Joan Collins in the edge, the City on the Edge Forever, blah blah, blah 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 blah. And so my wife and I have this conversation all the time, and she go, yeah, you're gone. And I go, good, me too. Like you're not gonna make it. I'll feel sad. But like if it's you or humanity, I'm gonna choose humanity because I'm a good person.
I love that this is the conversation we are having on the regular.
This is a very common conversation. Like when we go like, hey, we love each other. You're amazing. Like, like you're my favorite person. But come to the end of the world, and I have to pick humanity, or right?
Yeah,
Am
I
I
feel
the
like
hero, Clyde? Clyde, am I the hero?
Burnham and Book are going to figure out a way to save both because that's what they do.
Maybe. Like,
Yeah.
like she wasn't able to save Giorgio. Oh, drop, boom.
I wanted to bring up another couple I can't believe we haven't brought up, which is Rada and Peanut Hamper. I feel like we're really sleeping.
Finally.
That beautiful power couple.
That's right. Finally, someone said it.
You missed the chat. They were already saying that instead of Geordie's visor,
it should have been Peanut Hamper.
It should have been Peanut Hamper. So yes.
It would have been great. I would have loved that so much.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the add-on, the jump forward in time and which, if people don't know, like the timeline of events, they found out after they had completely wrapped filming season 5 that they were getting canceled. And so they allowed them to go back and do the reshoots, which we saw as all of the jump in time, the old age makeup, which again, I thought it looked great. That house was really cool. They're on the planet that they,
whatever.
It's called the Sanctuary 4.
Yeah.
Where they brought the space worm back when they first jumped into time, which I thought was like a nice, and that's where Book replanted the tree of life from Quajon. So we got to see our space transworms, the really cool looking deer named Alice that shows up, which I think is our nod back to Alice in Wonderland. And then we meet Burnham and Book's son Leo, who is getting his own ship. He's now a captain as we've jumped into the future. And we see Burnham take Zora out for one last hurrah to be left for Kraft, which I thought was kind of interesting that she says maybe one day you'll have our descendants here. And then I was like, is Kraft a descendant of Burnham and Book in the future?
Sure. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? It seems a little arbitrary. I don't know what that.
Chicago is saying it's Leto, not Leo.
Leto. Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard it was Leto.
Okay. I heard Leo, but I didn't have I want to just say, Paramount, I love that you send us the screener. It was really helpful, especially for me, because I was out of my house from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. today, and I appreciate getting screeners. But why don't they have closed captioning? It feels like an accessibility issue, and I feel like they should have closed captioning.
As the person who was excited, and then right when they said several weeks later, the screener shut off, I was like, oh my goodness. And as I chatted to you guys, I did stay up late and watch it last night. The minute Paramount released it,
dropped it.
I was like, I'm watching it. I could have watched the thing a couple more times. Like I like that ending. I thought was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I cried. I cried pretty hard.
Wow. I can't say I cried, but
it was the hugging scene, because to me, I was like, they're not acting. This is everyone actually saying goodbye to each other on set that day, and I cried.
I think the thing that I look at series finales and go, this is really, really hard, because the fans are often just terrible, right? Like you can have 100 or you can have 99 episodes in the bank, and then that last one is not quite what they expect, and they'll just rip you for years on it. So the degree of difficulty for a series finale, I always look at it, is hard. And so I'm not looking for like, oh my goodness, that was the best episode of the series. What I'm looking for is, did you land it? Am I going to walk away feeling like not necessarily complete, but full? Or did you leave me with more questions than I came in with? And I felt like I walked away from this episode a little bit full. Like, I've got enough. And it helps that I know, like, this wasn't the finale of the universe, right?
Right.
It was Discovery's finale. We know we're gonna see Tilly again. I feel like we're gonna see Adira again, and then
Yeah.
we're gonna have a host of mentors and guest stars, and like we know that there's more properties. So I felt like I was at peace with this. So it was a win for me.
Yeah, I think I was so like prior to the time jump and the add-on to end the show, I was so like, man, that was a really great season finale. I would have been really stoked with that as a season finale and so stoked for another season of the show that it just made me like angry because I was like, I think this group, we love Discovery and there's the ebbs and flows and we knit the picks and like all of those things. But I feel like the group of writers, specifically, I think Michelle Paradise, once she came in, I could see the knobs working to fix the things that had been harder on the show previous and had been moving in an interesting direction for me. This season, I thought was like a really solid season of television. And I'm just like sad that I don't get to see how this group of writers and this showrunner would have actually written a season that was their last season rather than like, do you know what I mean? Like I would have liked to have seen what they could have done if they had known from jump it was going to be the last season of the show.
Yeah, no, interesting. Like to me, it felt like the last season of the show without even knowing it.
Interesting.
Just because it's how they wrote Burnham, in the sense that I felt like she had come into her own. In all the other seasons, she's always like has this huge, what's the word I want to use, like emotional hurdle to overcome. Whether it be, oh, I caused the Klingon War. Oh, like I'm like I'm fighting an AI and I don't know blah blah blah, or I'm in the future by myself. Oh, like I'm captain now. Like here is the first time that I felt like, oh, like it starts off with her riding, a ship, like surfing a ship in warp, right? Like she I felt like she's her end form. Like like I don't know Pokemon, but I imagine like there's an end.
She's
form
in her
Pokemon.
Charizard era,
I for that's the one I know. and so like in that way, is it interesting anymore? Because like we're watching her development and we're seeing her final form, as it were, and it's a good form. I'm not rooting for her in the same way that I am in earlier seasons, where I go like, can you just, if you only could get over this bit, you're going to be great. I believe in you.
Well, I think it's like we saw her hit her final form, because to me this was a lot about that personal like romantic growth and that ability to live in the discomfort of fear of love and loving another person.
Exactly. And that was like the only thing that was left, right? Her unresolved thing was Book, and she solved that in this,
in this series, which to me left it open to where I'm like, well, now I want to see a season where she's in her full final form and we get to kind of finish the arcs I think it's because I feel like a lot of the other characters didn't get to finish their arcs.
I agree with that. Like, I feel like they did Stamets a little dirty. Once again, not my favorite character necessarily, but like, he is a pillar of the series, and I felt like he got not a lot of service. Like, I'm very happy that Colbert got a lot of screen time. I don't know if it was as necessary, like because I don't like in the end, like as much as I enjoy watching Wilson Cruz and his acting and his good looks, like like, do I need the Doctor to go on a spiritual journey? I don't know.
Did you all hear? We got the "I'm just a doctor, not a."
Yep.
Yes.
I was like, oh, I see.
I know I'm not a physicist.
Like,
yeah.
Yes, I dang near paused it right there and just reveled in it for a moment. And it's one of those things where I went to our Slack channel because I wanted somebody else to share it with, but I realized that I had watched it before anybody's seen it, and I just had to enjoy that myself.
Because you're there at midnight, going midnight and a
Pretty
half.
much.
And you're like,
Yeah.
oh well, yeah, no,
Maybe
like,
not.
My final and maybe only nit to pick of this.
Here's some nits.
Here's some nits. Who's piloting the spore drive when it like at the very end, because it seems like Burnham's on that ship by herself.
She wasn't quite by herself because she said, "Here's what's gonna happen." She told Zora, "The crew and I are gonna leave,
right,
and you're gonna stay here." But I did have that same question. I was like, "Because here's the deal: if it's Stamets, why not show him to us?"
Well, because they didn't have the budget to bring him back for that shoot. But yeah,
no,
yeah.
For the old man shoot.
As you guys have keep saying, they spend a lot of money.
This was a tack on. There was no more money left. Money, time, availability, like all of those things. I mean, shouts to Sonequa Martin Green for freaking showing up to give us anything at the end, because like she didn't have to. They could have just had that ship and gone. Like,
it's so funny that when you think about the critical people of this show, I don't know that 3 seasons ago you would have been like, man, if Owo and Detmer weren't on this show, I'd be pissed. Yet we have talked about them every single episode.
Yeah.
And I imagine you guys were like me, like in that last hugging scene, you're looking for them. Like you're looking for them, and they had a whole 3 seconds of screen time, and you felt like, okay, well, at least that's something. And so to your point, Myrriah, we assumed that they were busy doing other stuff, and they showed up for what was 3 seconds on screen, which we all know was probably like 10 hours.
Well, that was probably, honestly, they probably filmed that the last day that whole crew was available. That would be my guess.
Like, I would say, like, in the end, like, I'm just watching. I don't really love Detmer. I don't really love Owo. Like, I just don't like when people get done dirty.
Yeah, and I mean, it's I've seen the writers on Twitter. They're like, we hear you and trust us. We also want the things that you want, but it's like, we can't magically make schedules work.
I'm not mad at anyone. It's just one of those things where it's like Owo got her, like, her fighty that one season, and like, and Detmer got her PTSD, that one season, right?
Yeah.
As much as we talk about how awesome Tilly is in the Mirrorverse, Owo was pretty damn amazing in Mirrorverse too.
Yeah, Owo's always she's always constant. The only thing is, like, I don't think they give Owo a lot of stuff character wise.
No.
That's
So with the ship getting placed to wait for craft in the 42nd century, could we potentially have a show that is in the 42nd century in the future?
I don't think so.
You don't want to jump that far?
Well, it's not that. It's like there's a point where, like, what do you gain from going into the future anymore? Like, like in this particular case, we were able to. I assumed the show was like, oh, we've hit a bottleneck. Like, we're now we put the Enterprise in here. We're at Pike, and we put this super game changing technology that, like, we have to explain somehow eventually, and we're gonna do Strange New Worlds. So how do we make this work at all? And they go like, oh, let's just go for it. I go, that makes sense. Like, you take it out, you classify all the stuff, and you're a big winner. And just so you know, for hundreds of years, they've classified the spore drive, and no one really, like, abused that technology. So they could have done that with the progenitor. I'm just saying, hundreds of years.
So you're saying what they could have done was taken the progenitor and stuck it on Discovery and then put it in Oort cloud with Zora.
Or like find another couple of black holes, put it there, just hide it away, and like here we know where it is. I'm not upset. I'm just saying it's been done before. Section 31 is on your side. We work for you.
I am excited to see the Section 31 movie.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that shakes out. I'll be stoked to do that as a review.
Myrriah, I will say if they did do that show,
Mhm.
I would watch a Star Trek show with Aldous Hodge on it.
Yeah.
Don't know that I want him as the main guy,
Mhm.
but I would definitely watch a show with him on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there was so much in this episode, and I just like shouts to everyone who worked on this show. It looked great. Y'all really trudged through. You opened the freaking door for all of this Star Trek that we get now. And like,
Yeah,
as we've said before, we would have no other new Star Trek if it wasn't for Discovery. So
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
We are grateful.
Yeah, super.
And there would be no Star Trek Discovery Pod. Hello.
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 We wouldn't exist.
And but more importantly, we wouldn't have hot dog talk.
We
Would
wouldn't have hot dog talk.
Wednesdays, like at 13 o'clock. Hot dog talk.
Hot dog talk. Very important. I did see Strange New Worlds just wrapped filming their latest season, so that will be, however long into the future it's in post-production for. I think we have a Lower Decks coming. I'm trying to get confirmation of when we're finally going to get Prodigy on Netflix available in the US, because I know it's been available on a French streaming service for like a couple of months now. So, hopefully we get that soon. But y'all let us know if there's anything you want us to chat about in this in between Trek time. We'll be taking next week off as we figure out what we're going to chat about. But yeah, I mean, freaking cheers, y'all.
Yeah, if you want hot dog talk, we can figure out something.
We can do that.
I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Like my belief is like if we should have like a Patreon what you call it kind of like a Kickstarter like a Kickstarter thing, and if we get enough money we should do a shot by shot remake of the musical episode of Strange New Worlds starring Myrriah, myself, and Clyde.
You say that without hearing how awful I sing.
No. It's going to be awful. It's going to, it is not a matter of like, oh, this is going to be good, but we just need like, the funds to like get the right production value. But we will not spend that production value in our singing though.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah. I cannot hold a tune whatsoever.
That's right. Exactly.
Cool. Oh, Nicole, I don't know if we'll be at Comic-Con this year. We have not been invited to anything, sad face. And my calendar's wide open. If anyone needs panelists, we're
seriously around. My trip home to visit the family is before that. So there will be no schedule complications. If anybody wants us to come to Comic-Con and they have a badge for us, I'm available.
We're avail.
And me too. I missed last time.
Yeah, we would like to be there. But we're here all the time having panels on the internet.
That's right.
Yes.
We are here to chat. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Truly honored you all spend your time with us for this show, and excited to keep talking continued Trek, but bon voyage to our namesake. It is a day.
Yeah, I gotta say I love Trek, but watching it with all of you, getting to talk about it with all of you, reading your messages, it makes it extra special. It's not just you're not just watching it alone, but you're watching it with a community, and I think that's what makes this so different from some of the other TV I watch. So thank you all.
And if you have the various names that you want us to change to, like Star Trek Hot Dog Talk or whatever, you just let us know.
You just let us know. We will be back not next week, but the week after. We'll let you know what we're going to talk about. We'll figure something out. It'll be great. We'll figure something. Maybe we revisit all the short treks. That could be fun
Ooh.
and keep us
Ooh.
Discovery Universe for a little bit.
Yeah, I like that idea.
We will talk to you all very soon on the internet. Thank you all so much. Live long and prosper.
Bye everyone.